Well, it's a good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Bet Goodwin Oxford Stadium for our last official fixture of the 2025 season. And it's a celebration tonight. Celebration of Speedway. It's a celebration of the National League winning Chargers. And it's an opportunity to see Swindon Robins, Wolverhampton Wolves and the Coventry Bees back on track as the Oxford Cheetahs host a special 4-team tournament to round off their very, very hectic and busy season that they've had. My name is Lee Kilby. I'm going to be your commentator this evening. Presenter and commentator running solo tonight, so you'll have to be used to my voice. But we're really looking forward to this one tonight. It's a special occasion. We've had a couple of rain-offs leading up to tonight and we were always wondering whether we would get tonight on. But the guys have worked so hard on the track over the last couple of days to get this in a raceable condition, and they have done extremely well. They've packed it really, really hard. There's been a lot of rain over the last 24, 48 hours, but Wayne and Jamie have been out there packing, doing a bit of packing, ripping, and it looks good. It looks good. We haven't had rain since about lunchtime today. You can see a little bit of surface water there, but that's not a problem. That's going to be good as the night goes on. And hopefully that track will deliver us some good racing to finish off our season. And like I said, this is about the Chargers. It's an opportunity for them to come back to the Bet Goodwin tonight and get the applause of having won the league away from home in that final fixture. So we have all but two, I think, of the Chargers here tonight, and they'll take the applause of the crowd pre-meeting as they'll jump on the golf buggy. Anybody that watched our stream or was here earlier in the season would have seen a couple of their laps of honour at the end of winning meetings. 6 or 7 of them clambered onto a golf buggy. It's become their thing, so they'll do that again this evening. And then we'll crack on with 15, 16, and we've got 17 races this evening to bring to you. So let's run through the sides. Like we say, we've got Oxford, Swindon, Coventry and Wolves. What I'll do is I'll just run across the number ones for you there, and we'll run down 1 to 4 in each of the two sides, and then finish with the two team managers. So Oxford number 1 will be Richard Lawson. He's come in for Sam Masters, who unfortunately has a family commitment, can't be here this evening. So he's been excellent, especially at championship level this year, but at Premiership as well. Richard Lawson will be a great number 1 for Oxford. Swindon bringing Dan Thompson. Unfortunately, Anders Rowe, another rider that couldn't ride this evening due to end of season gremlins and just finishing his season really. So Dan Thompson, who's been exceptional as well, he'll be number 1 for the Robins. Chris Harris, no introduction needed. He possibly makes a lot of people's Coventry all-time top 7s. Chris at number 1 for them, and Scott has ridden for all 4 of these sides. Scott Nicholls will be the number 1 for the Wolverhampton Wolves, and again another man that probably getting some top 7s for a couple of these teams. Coventry definitely. And the number 2 is Jody SCOTT for Oxford. He's had an exceptional season. Moving up to Redcar in the Championship has been brilliant for them, and was a shining light in them getting the BSN Series win over Paul recently. Swindon Robins number 2 will be Simon Lambert. Again, 100% of Simon, great guy, really good guy. He'll do a good job in there at number 2 for Swindon. Coventry Bees number 2 is Joe Thompson. Joe's been brought in last minute as well. He filters into that side, and he'll join his brother in the lineup. And Leon Flint, former Wolverhampton Wolf, he will be the Wolverhampton Wolf. He'll be number 2. And again, a rider who's done well this season around the Bet Goodwin Oxford Stadium. Number 3 for Oxford, Luke Killeen. Has ridden for the Chargers, he's ridden for the Cheetahs, he's ridden for the Spires, he's had every race jacket, Luke, and again he's made great strides. Was picked for the Speedway Nations 2 for Great Britain. That finished his season off really, really well. He's number 3. For the Robins at number 3 is Jason Edwards, again a rider who's consistently performed this year for Redcar. He's really starting to step up. He's got a big future ahead of him. Jason. Interesting, number 3 for the Bees. Now, I thought this was going to be Max Broadhurst, but Max is still injured. Now, this is Wayne, his dad, and for the older viewer among you, like myself, will remember Wayne. Now, Wayne actually won the league with Coventry in 1987. So I'm not gonna guess at his age. I didn't look before we got here tonight, but Wayne has filled in that empty berth that we had at number 3 for the Bees, and he is a league winner with them. So it'd be terrific to see Wayne, who's been doing really well on the grass track recently as well. So it'd be good to see Wayne there, number 3 for the Bees. For the Wolves at number 4 is Cameron Heeps, a man who, of course, we've seen around here for the Cheetahs this year. Had an awful crash earlier in the season, got back to fitness after a few meetings away, and he did finish the season. For the Cheetahs. And the number 4's Senna SUMMERS, a league-winning Charger this year. Be interesting to see how he goes at number 4 there for the Cheetahs. Paul Starke, he rode for the Swindon Sprockets. Actually, when my dad was the team manager many years ago, when Paul was starting out his career, so he has had some Swindon exposure in his career. Paul, Ashton VALE, another league-winning Charger. Be good to see Ashton on track. He's done exceptionally well for the last couple of years for the Chargers. He's Coventry's number 4. And the final rider, again, is another league-winning Charger. Great to see him on track after an injury earlier in the season is Arran Butcher. So Arran takes up that number 4 race jacket for the Wolverhampton Wolves to complete the lineups. And the 4 team managers, Peter Schroeck needs no introduction. He's worked his socks off this season over those 3 sides. It's good that he could get that charge of silverware to something to show for his season. Alun ROSSITER, again, a man who's won the league both with Swindon and Coventry in a managerial capacity. Currently lost to the sport, Al, with no Swindon being out there at the moment, so brilliant to see him back managing the Swindon side. Martin Coleman, now he's a man that was involved with the junior levels of the Coventry Bees, and it's good to see Martin taking up the reins for them this evening. And again, a world champion, needs no introduction for the Wolverhampton Wolves. Ermolenko is a legend. He will make a lot of people's top 7s for Wolverhampton, I'm sure. And again, most recently, he was doing a bit with Birmingham in the Premier League. So there are your runners and riders for this evening. Fantastic to have those 16 riders on track. And the format for this evening, it's obviously a 4-team tournament. So in each of our heats, we'll have 1 representative from each team. So the scoring is 3-2-1-0 as normal. So I was driving down, I wasn't 100% whether we were going to see pairs in each of the heat, but no, it's your conventional 4-team tournament. So there'll be 1 representative in each heat. The Oxford Cheetahs, they'll wear the red helmet colour throughout the evening. The Swindon Robins will wear blue. The Coventry Bees will wear the white helmet colour. And the Wolverhampton Wolves will wear the yellow helmet colour. We have 16 heats. We'll complete the programme, and then we will finish off with a top scorers final. So each team will have a top scorer, and they will go into that winner-takes-all individual final to round off the evening. So let's hope it's a great evening of the guys give us some good racing. It's always tricky when you get to this part of the season because it is cold out there, I have to say. It is cold, and it takes, the bikes respond differently in this type of weather. The tracks are different, it's the end of the season, the riders have done lots of miles, lots of travelling, lots of speedway, lots of competitive racing, and again quite a few of these guys were in and amongst those big finals at the end of the season, and there's added pressure. Anders Rowe unfortunately can't ride this evening. It's just season, he's had a few bike issues at the end of the season, and he just couldn't really get everything together to race tonight. But he was saying that the pressure that he felt at Poole, which you'd expect from a team gunning for trophies at the end of the season, especially the Pirates with a rich history. He was saying, you just have to put everything on the line for those meetings, and it's not just when you're on your bike; it's when you're in the pits, it's when you're around the team, it's when you have your team meetings. So it is quite an intense way to end your season. And like we were saying, quite a few of these boys have been involved in that. But for some of them, it's just great that we can get the Chargers back on track. So we've got Jody SCOTT, Senna SUMMERS, Ashton VALE, Arran BUTCHER. They will be on track. So they're all Chargers that have won this year. The only 2 that I don't think are here this evening is Darryl Richins, who picked up an injury on the grass track, and Jacob Cloughton, who I believe is partner might be about to give birth to a child. Don't quote me on that. I think I heard that over in the pits. So good luck to him if that is indeed the case. So there we go. That's us. That's how we're set for the evening. We're looking good. The bikes are just coming across. We'll have a slightly different parade than what we normally do. If you're a regular on the stream or a regular here at the stadium, we normally obviously get an introduction to the 2 7s. There's a coin toss. There's no coin toss this evening. The gate positions are what they are, so we won't be juggling those around. As our programme is what the buyers, they'll just get a random selection throughout the evening. Fairness across the board of the gates, and as we've seen with the racing here at Oxford this season, every gate's delivered at some point during the meeting. So, and we've got, let's be honest, we've got the likes of Ashton VALE, Arran BUTCHER, Senna SUMMERS, these riders that are coming into the sport, growing, working their way up that ladder, and then we've got the likes of Scott Nicholls, Chris Harris, Richard Lawson that have been up there. They batted at the top. So we could end up with a couple of races in one as a couple of these races progress. We expect that. So we'll just see how that develops. And yes, we will get an introduction with those Chargers. They'll come round at the beginning just to take the plaudits from the crowd on their National League success. Twice in three seasons that the Chargers have won that National League. So that was a great success for them. They had to do it, not a difficult way, but they had to go away from home and get a couple of victories on the road to finish off the campaign, and they did that in style. And you have to say that Darryl Richins and Jody SCOTT really led from the front for that side. Darryl Richins stepping back into the sport after a little time away, and didn't take long to find his feet. and started to score really, really well in the National League, and obviously had a little opportunity at Poole there for a while, and did really well down there. I was talking to the promotion down there when I was down there with BSN a little while ago, and they were saying how impressed they were with Daryl Richins, and if the situation had been slightly different for whatever reason, he wouldn't have, he potentially would have kept his place down there. So that's a feather in his cap. So here come how that golf cart does that, I've got no idea. It's even got Peter Schroeck on it this time as well. So there is Daryl Richins on the right. That's good to see Daryl here. So there's Daryl, Jody SCOTT, Peter Schroeck, Arran Butcher. On the left, Max Broadhurst. Looks like Senna SUMMERS is behind the wheel, and Ashton VALE is in there as well. So congratulations to those boys. It's been a pleasure to commentate on their meetings this year. They've ridden really well. You can see a big development in the likes of Senna SUMMERS, Ashton VALE. Those riders are really starting to kick on at that National League level. Obviously we're all on the same as everybody else. We're just waiting and wondering what is going to happen with the league structure for next year. Unfortunately, I've got no spoilers. I've got no insight into what might happen, so we'll just have to wait and see. But we just hope that there's enough track time for these young guys to be able to race regularly, so they can get out on track and move their way up that ladder. So here come the Chargers. They'll do this lap of honour. I think it's Chris DURNO. That's our referee this evening. I haven't got that. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's Chris DURNO. I did see him in the pits. It's nice to see Chris there. And he'll be on the button. So, obviously, with a 4-team tournament, there are no tacticals as such. And if anybody, unfortunately, picks up any injuries, then there can be an injured rider replacement for that. But it's a straight shootout. Top scorers at the end will win the... Maybe it'll be the inaugural, maybe the first one we did. Maybe we'll do this again. It's great to see Swindon on track. It's great to see Coventry and Wolverhampton, 3 of the most famous clubs in our sport. It's great to see them back on track, and we'll delve into their histories a little bit more as the night goes on. But here come the Chargers. They definitely put more air in those tyres than the last time these boys went out on that track, because it was almost rimming the floor the last time they were out. So it's definitely put a bit of air in. But terrific effort from these guys to win the league. Pretty formidable. Jody SCOTT really kicked on this year. I think he certainly surprised me. You knew that Jody was going to ride really well at this level, but almost unbeatable around this place this year for the Chargers. And there was no real room for him to... He definitely appeared a few times for the Cheetahs, but there was no permanent team position for him, so Redcar took up the opportunity to take him. And what a fantastic decision that was from them, because he really did kick on for them and become a really important part of their setup. So congratulations to the Chargers, National League winners. National League winners for 2025. Brought a bit of silverware back to the Bet Goodwin. They deserve all the applause that they get. So I think what we'll see here is the boys that are riding tonight, maybe they'll jump out. Oh, they're all going to get out. So we might just have a quick Q&A with a couple of them. And there is the trophy. I think Jody was the skipper this year, was he not? Well done to the Chargers. Nice round of applause. So a different role tonight for Max. That's Max Broadhurst there next to Jody with the trophy. So Max is on the spanners for his dad. But he's been doing that at the grass track this year. Wayne's been riding the grass track. So even though Max isn't riding, it's nice to have Wayne involved. I'm looking forward to seeing Wayne get on track. There's Aubrey there sorting the team out. Nice to see 4 of them riding in this meeting this evening as well. And Darryl would have been, if he was fit enough, he'd have been representing Swindon this evening. A man that rode for Swindon, of course, only for a short. So he rode for me for the Sprockets when I was team manager of the Swindon Sprockets, but he also made a couple of appearances for the first team before an awful injury, an awful crash. Pretty much ended his career at that point. In coma for a little while. Nasty crash at Swindon. Darryl would have been in the Swindon side. So just a quick a quick word from Jody, not too long, because we've got some speedway racing to enjoy. A very successful season for Jody. Exciting to see what happens with Jody SCOTT next year, where he can go with it. So they'll finish up what they're doing. So yeah, when we look across the side, obviously with the Oxford team, Jody SCOTT, Luke Killeen, Senna SUMMERS, their Oxford roots. Joined by Richard Lawson. For the Swindon side, Dan Thompson rode for me for the Swindon Sprockets, and Paul Starke, like I say, a few years ago now, rode for my dad for the Swindon Sprockets. There's a couple of riders there with a Swindon connection. And I've definitely seen Simon Lambert in a Swindon guest jersey before. For Coventry, Chris Harris needs no introduction. Star man. Be interesting to know how many top sevens he gets in for Coventry supporters. And he's joined by Joe. So a bit of a mixed bag for him with Wayne Broadhurst, who rode for them as well. And then Joe Thompson and Ashton VALE. And then for Wolverhampton, yeah, they've got Leon Flint and Scotty Nicholls, who've both ridden for them. Great distinction. Leon obviously got into I think he was their rising star at Wolverhampton for a couple of years. Obviously Leon's kicked on as well over the last couple of years as well, since Wolverhampton's been gone. So we're not gonna err on the side of the negative this evening. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go on about their plights. They're all fighting their own battles to try and get back to track. And we sincerely hope that we do see the Robins, the Bees and the Wolves back on track one day. Some brilliant people behind those clubs that we'd love to see involved again. But what we'll do is we'll just enjoy the fact that we're going to see the race jackets and their names on track this evening. And again, as I walked around, I did a quick track walk as I made my way up to the comms box, and I definitely saw some Swindon tops, Coventry and Wolverhampton, so there's supporters there for all three of those teams, which is really, really good. And at the end of the day, it's Speedway, and that's what we love. So thank you very much for buying the stream and joining us this evening. It is a chilly evening here. So as much as this is the best place to be, because watching Speedway live is the king, is the best, you are in a very good place. At home, in the warm, cup of tea, or a beer maybe. Cheeky takeaway, we are the only stream this evening. The meeting at Leicester, the racing at Leicester this evening was rained off. We've beat the rain, so we are the only Speedway. So there's Sam Ermolenko on the left, leading out his Wolverhampton boys. Martin Coleman on the right, leading out the Cov boys. Alun ROSSITER just behind in his black and orange Swindon coat. And then Peter Schroeck on the left, leading out Richard Lawson and the Oxford team. So great that these guys have committed to riding this evening. Like we said, it's been a long season. They've all done a lot of racing. And let's be fair, it is a pretty decent lineup. We've got some good riders in there. We've got some good number ones. Dan Thompson's appeared on the world stage this year and did himself the world. Really proud. He was really good. He rode really hard. It's hard. That's that Speedway Nation 2, SGP2 is a big old level to step up into. And Dan did up very well this year. So there's Bomber. Who hasn't Chris ridden for? He didn't ride for Swindon. We never had Chris at Swindon. We used him as a guest on a few occasions, but he was never an out-and-out Swindon rider. There's not many clubs that he hasn't ridden for. Like I was saying, there's a real mix of abilities here today. So we may well see a couple of races develop into 2 heats. It might take the junior riders, should we say, a couple of heats just to get going. Let's go. So Alun ROSSITER, he rode for all these clubs. He rode for Oxford, obviously Swindon. He rode for Coventry, mid-70s, and Wolverhampton as well. So Alun has ridden for all these 4 teams. So I think looking at the lineups, he has. Scotty Nicholls definitely has. Sam Ermolenko is 100% Wolf. How do I say Wolf? So we'll just run through the lineups for the crowd. We've already done that a couple of times. You're going to hear me going on about them all night, so I won't bother doing it again. But you can see them all in the white helmet colour there, the Coventry Bees. That's what you've got to remember. That's what they'll wear this evening. Wolves will be in yellow, Swindon blue, and the home side, Oxford, the hosts, they'll be in red. So there's Wayne. Brilliant to see Wayne. I did come up and say to Andy, who runs the show here, you've got Wayne Broadhurst down. He's like, no, it is definitely Wayne Lee. I'm not sure it is. He said, yeah, it definitely is. And he was right. So that was 1-0 to Andy. That was 1-0 to Andy. Dave Rowe confirmed it as such as well. So we used to see lots of 4-team tournaments back in the day. For the younger generation, not so much, but it was a big deal, the 4-team tournament. The fours at Peterborough used to be a huge occasion. And we'd see 4-team tournaments up and down the country. Local based, really. It was always Swindon, Oxford, Reading. Being involved in a couple of them as well. I'm not sure that's a yellow helmet colour there, Cam. It's looking a bit pale. You might catch me out later on. The Oxford boys in their red. Unbelievable Richard Lawson at home for Paul this season. Almost unbeatable. Almost unbeatable. Double figure scores across the board. So now get moving. So in terms of the rules, 3-2-1-0 as normal. The riders will get 2 minutes when that 2-minute alarm goes on from the referee. The starting gate here is on a timer, so the referee doesn't release the tapes. He ignites the switch which releases the tapes. So as we work through the meeting this evening, it's made it slightly challenging for our graphic programme tonight. So we will do our best to bring you who's in the heat, and then I'll try and round off each heat with the finishing order. And then what we'll do is after each block of 4 rides, we will bring you full team scores, who scored what the team tallies are, and try and keep you up to speed. And we just hope that you enjoy the racing. Hope the boys give me something to shout and cheer about. My Swindon friend Jason has messaged me and he said, Lee, who do you think would make the top, if each of these, muddling my words up here, who would make your top 4 riders for each of these teams of riders that you've seen? Oh, that's a big question. I'm going to have to think about that as the night goes on. So who would be my ultimate 4 riders from each of these teams? Wow, that's a tough question. That is a tough question. Well, Scott Nicholls is here. I'd definitely put him in my Coventry team, I think. Or Bomber. That's a tricky one. Tommy Knudsen, Rick Miller, Commentator. That's tough. Hans Nielsen, he was at Coventry for a bit, but Hans Nielsen would have to get in the Oxford team, surely. I'll think about that as the night goes on. And again, Charlie Meredith, what's he put? Whilst Bomber never rode for Swindon, he's a legend in his eyes. I think you're right there, Charlie. I think he's a legend in everybody's eyes. He's Bomber. I think he got ridden over when he won the league with Alun ROSSITER and Coventry, when Lewis Bridger rode over the back of him. I think it was Lewis that went over the back of him. And Bomber got up and ran back to the pits. That was the stuff of legend, as was Bomber's Cardiff win. I think the sport will be a far worse place when we lose the likes of Bomber and Scotty Nicholls. So yeah, I agree with there, Charlie. And I do remember Bomber in a Swindon guest year, so he's definitely guested for the Robins at some point, as he probably has every team up and down the country. So we're almost at race time. We are almost at race time. Nice way to end. 4-team tournament, something a little bit different. I believe there's an auction in the bar afterwards for race jackets as well. So I think 12 of the 16 race jackets will be auctioned off at the end. And money going to a suitable charity, I'm sure. And what a Heat 1 we've got. Heat 1 is going to be Richard Lawson red, Dan Thompson blue, Chris Harris white and Scott Nicholls yellow. That's a great Heat 1 to kick us off. And what would the bet be that be the top scorers race at the end of the night? I might have a couple of quid on that if it was there. So Chris Harris, he came out on social media saying he's already signed a couple of deals for next year. And as none of us really know the league structure and setup, if he signed for 2 sides, that tells me there's not going to be one league, unless Chris is riding in the National League, which he's definitely not. So make of that what you will. But yeah, Chris is all set for 2026. Scott Nicholls obviously been announced down at Plymouth, which was a bit of a shame for Cheetahs fans, because I think we thought we'd see Scott back here again. That's not to be, so that's a real coup. Plymouth have worked really hard down there to get the crowd in, and their last few fixtures, the crowd was fantastic down there. So you have to take your hats off to Mark Phillips and the guys down there, Barry Bishop, helping in this year. They've done really well to get good crowds down at Plymouth. Speedway's been entertaining. When we've been down there with the British Speedway Network, it's always been a show. There's always been something to enjoy. So there we go, top left is your graphic. We'll update that as the night ticks on. Oxford, Swindon, Coventry and Wolves. We'll keep that updated. And then after every block of 4 heats, we'll give you a rundown on who scored what and what that complete team tally is. Just waiting for Scott Nicholls to make his way round. So a cracking heat 1 here. Not sure we could have started with a better heat 1 into the last minute. Because DURNO, your referee's got that clock on. So the Bet Goodwin 4-team tournament lineup for heat number 1 is Richard Lawson on the inside in red for Oxford. Next to him in yellow will be Scott Nicholls for Wolverhampton. Dan Thompson representing Swindon in the blue helmet colour for gate 3. And Chris Harris in white for the Coventry Bees off of gate number 4. So Bet Goodwin, they're sponsoring this evening. Hats off, thank you to them for doing so, giving us one more Speedway meeting to enjoy this year. And they're also our sponsors of heat number 1. So the track, talk to Wayne Hutt, who does the track here. They packed it so hard over the last 24 hours because they were expecting so much rain. So I'd anticipate it will take a few heats just for some dirt lines to build up to give us some racing. But who knows, these boys might jump out the start and give you something to shout about straight away. Heat number 1, and away we go. Last meeting of the season here. And it's a cracker in blue from Dan Thompson, but he's been pushed a little bit wide as up the inside comes Richard Lawson and Chris Harris. Dan Thompson drops back to 3rd with Scott Nicholls at the back at the moment. Richard Lawson forwards with it. Here comes Dan Thompson. Back up the inside of Chris Harris, who's riding a wider line than Dan. There's a little bit of grip out there. He's got to run around. Dan Thompson back into 2nd place there, Chris Harris. Scott Nicholls is watching all this from the back as Chris goes deep here, trying to find a way around the outside of Richard Lawson. But what that's doing is that's introducing Dan Thompson back up the inside of him, giving him an opportunity to get a run up the inside. So a busy, not much overtaking, but a really busy first heat as we move into the last lap. Richard Lawson out front. Chris Harris, who can't rest because Dan Thompson's all over the back of him in 3rd place. Scott Nicholls is just an observer in this one at the back. Richard Lawson looks like he's got that win wrapped up out front. Last 2 turns, Dan Thompson up the inside. Chris Harris holds on to 2nd. So Richard Lawson in red with the win. Bomber Harris in white 2nd. Dan Thompson blue 3rd. And Scotty Nicholls yellow at the back. So a great start for the home side. Dan Thompson pushing Chris Harris all the way there in 2nd place. Couldn't rest on his laurels there. And Chris was just in that position where it was stick or twist as he tried and get up and challenge Richard Lawson. But every time he did that, he was moving off the line a little bit, which is hard early on in the meeting. And what that was doing was giving Dan Thompson just a little introduction up the inside. There's an opportunity to get up and have a go, but he couldn't quite make that stick. So, good start for the home side. They take the 3 points from Coventry's 2, Swindon's 1. And Scott Nicholls and Wolves failed to score in that opening heat. But an entertaining heat. Good start to proceedings. We've got a bit of a replay for you as well. Good start. Dan Thompson initially looked like he made a good start in blue for Swindon. Keep an eye, Richard Lawson just hugged that curb. Yeah, Dan and Chris made a good one from the outside. We've got a long way to go off of 4 early on in this meet, and Richard just rode the curb really nicely. And then it really was a battle for that 2nd and 3rd, really. Dan Thompson having a look a couple of times. Chris moving off the line, Dan there. Got himself up into 2nd, but Chris just had that longer straight down the outside, got himself back up around the outside, which he did on a couple of occasions there as the race progressed, and just managed to hold off. So a cracking race to start us off. Not much overtaking, but something to talk about. Great start. There's Jody SCOTT, who's already up at tapes. Heat number 2, the riders have got a minute and a half to get to tapes. Leon Flint joining the party. That's all 4 riders at tapes 4, heat number 2. Keith Cook Construction, they are our sponsors of heat number 2. There's a heat number 2 that's going to see Joe Thompson off the inside in white for Coventry. Next to him in red for Oxford will be Jody SCOTT. Yellow, gate 3 for Wolverhampton will be Leon Flint, and Simon Lambert will be in the blue helmet colour representing Swindon off of gate number 4. So it was gate 1, gave us that Heat 1 winner with Richard Lawson off of gate 1. That's where Joe Thompson finds himself this year, and again, Joe down at Plymouth this year has been fantastic. He's been riding really well down there, and this is a smaller track, not as small as Plymouth obviously, but it is that dynamic similar. The track that Joe potentially enjoys to ride. Let's see what he can do here, but he's up against the home track specialist in Jody SCOTT, who's come on leaps and bounds this year. Simon Lambert, I think, admits it's his favourite track. I have seen him win races here. Leon Flint, who's been a busy guy this year. So, Jody SCOTT, Simon Lambert, Joe Thompson, Leon Flint. Oxford leading the way at the moment. Heat number 2. Start Marshall walks away. Great start off the inside from Joe Thompson, but Leon Flint has made the trap with him as well. Leon made the gate off for 3. Who's going to get the run down the back straight? And it is Leon Flint, but Joe still hugging that curb, looking up the inside. But Leon's got a great line there around the boards. He holds on to that lead. Pretty congested second, third and fourth. Joe Thompson at the moment from Jody SCOTT and Simon Lambert at the back. But Leon Flint did the work, made a run around the outside. But it's pretty close as we move into halfway on this heat. Simon Lambert's looking at Jody SCOTT there in third place to try and go for that solitary point. Joe Thompson at times looks like he's in arm's reach of Leon Flint, then Leon just seems to pull away a little bit. So with a lap to go, it is Leon Flint from Joe Thompson, Jody SCOTT and Simon Lambert. So Wolves failed to score in the opening heat. Whoa, Joe Thompson just got that wrong a little bit there, and keep an eye on Simon Lambert as he tries to, he's got 2 turns. Can he get a run around Jody SCOTT? He's got to go big or go home here for that third place. He can't quite make it stick, so it is a win. Leon Flint in yellow from Joe Thompson in white, Jody SCOTT in red, and Simon Lambert. Fair play, he did try there in third at the backside, but just couldn't get himself up into that third place ahead of Jody SCOTT. The back wheel action from Leon Flint. So Oxford contribute a point. Takes them to 4. Swindon failed to score. They stay on the 1. Coventry get their second place. That takes them to 4. And Wolves pick up the win. Oxford 4, Coventry 4, Wolves 3, Swindon 1. So again, another good race. You can see it from the tapes. Yeah, Joe made a great start off the inside, didn't he? But then Leon was just in that little bit deeper stuff round the outside, got his wheels in line over the top there. Plenty of lift, drive down the back straight. But again, second, third and fourth, Joe Thompson, Jody SCOTT and Simon Lambert, they're all pretty close as that race developed. You can see Simon Lambert trying. There's just not a lot out there at the moment. It's difficult. It's difficult in these early stages to get that run and to get that line. And Leon Flint rode sensible. Simon Lambert tried as he might to get ahead of Jody SCOTT, but just couldn't make that happen. And that's how it ended, with a Leon Flint win for Wolves. Nothing in the first one, 3 points in the second one. A minute and a half until heat number 3. Liquid Screed, they're our sponsors of heat number 3, and it's a heat that's going to see Senna SUMMERS, National League winning charge off the inside in red for Oxford. Next to him, Oxford Cheetahs this season, Cam Heeps, he's going to be representing Wolverhampton in the yellow helmet colour. Wayne Broadhurst, title winner of Coventry in 1987, he's going to be in the white helmet colour off of the outside. And Jason Edwards, he's going to be in blue off of gate number 3 for Swindon. So I actually think they're in the wrong gates here, so Simon Lambert and Wayne Broadhurst need to switch. So Jason should be in 4 and Wayne should be in 3. So our graphic is correct there. Our graphic was, so Wayne should be off of 3 and Jason off of 4. So those two have just got to swap over. Here comes the message from the start marshal. Can you two boys swap over? There we go. Senna SUMMERS, Cameron Heeps, Wayne Broadhurst, Jason Edwards. That's the lineup. The guys have got the right gates. And it was Leon Flint off of gate 3 in that last one that gave us the win. So we've had a winner off of 1 and a winner off of 3. Let's see what these guys can produce. Senna Summers, Jason Edwards, Wayne Broadhurst, Cameron Heeps, heat number 3. Away they go, and that's a great start from gate 2 from Cam Heeps, and Jason Edwards has joined him as well. Senna Summers and Wayne Broadhurst. So we're going to have 2 in 1 here by the look of it. Great start from Cam Heeps. He made a flyer, got himself out front. Jason Edwards tucked into second place at the moment. Senna Summers in third with Wayne Broadhurst. I imagine it won't depend on the last time Wayne was on a speedway track, so it might take Wayne a couple of heats just to dial in and get used to it again. But we've got a battle out front. Cam Heeps in yellow representing Wolves and Jason Edwards blue representing Swindon. They're going toe to toe out front at the moment. Cam looks pretty comfortable. Senna Summers is pretty settled in third in red for Oxford, and Wayne Broadhurst just cut adrift a little bit at the back. But the boys out front with a lap to go. Cam Heeps, if he makes any kind of mistake, Jason Edwards will be all over him, but I don't think he's going to do that. It's looking pretty settled. Track's riding really nice. Not offering too many problems for the boys. It looks pretty good, and Cameron Heeps takes the flag. Great victory for him in yellow. Jason Edwards in blue for Swindon takes that second place. Senna Summers pretty unchallenged there in red for Oxford in third. And Wayne Broadhurst, that's probably the first serious lap of speedway he's done in white for Coventry at the back. What start that was from Cam Heeps. Flew from the tapes there. To give Wolves their second heat win up on the trot. Boys go back in. Here we can see it from the start. Keep an eye on Cam off gate number 2. He jet propelled. I think he was just a lot quicker than the other guys who were a lot slower than him. But yeah, Jason and Cam flew from the tapes there. And from that moment on, it was a battle. Front 2, back 2. Senna Summers pulled away from Wayne Broadhurst to have a pretty straightforward third place. And Jason was pushing. He was pushing Cam all the way, but Cam's just on that line, riding really nice. You can see him going in quite low. That was a really nice shot of Cam going into turn 1 there. Jason reeled him in a little bit from the gap that you can see there as the race developed. Couldn't get up close enough to land a blow. It was the second win on the trot for the Wolves. After a pointless opening heat from Scott Nicholls, 2 race wins, takes them into the lead with 6 points. So what we'll do is we'll run down on the scores totally after this heat. Everybody would have had 1 ride, would have seen everybody on track. And in this one, Nuffield Health, they're our sponsors of heat number 4. It's a heat 4 that's going to see Arran Butcher in yellow off the inside for Wolves. Gate 2, blue, Paul Starke for Swindon. Luke Killeen, red, gate 3 for Oxford. And Ashton Vale in white off of the outside for the Coventry Bees. So in this one, Paul Starke and Luke Killeen potentially with a battle out front with Arran Butcher and Ashton Vale. A bit similar to the last heat really. There's not a golfing class, but Paul Starke and Luke Killeen have both been batting away in the championship this year. Obviously in Premiership as well for Luke. Paul Starke got into all those finals with Paul this year, so he's been a busy end of season for him. And then in the Chargers, Ashton Vale and Arran Butcher, a couple of title winners. They may well develop into a battle for that third place. But Commentator's curse. Let's wait and see what happens. Star Marshall gets them in line. DURNO hits the button and away we go. And it's a pretty even break, to be fair. And Arran Butcher off the inside made a great gate, but as expected, Luke Killeen round the outside takes up the lead from Paul Starke, second in blue for Swindon. But I'll tell you what, Arran Butcher, I'll give you that, mate. You made a great gate there off the inside. And Luke Killeen just pulling away a little bit from Paul Starke out front. And as we thought, Ashton Vale and Arran Butcher there, they're going to battle it out for that third place. That was a great start from Arran Butcher. Pretty even break from all 4 of them really, but as they went around those first 2 turns, Luke Killeen stamps his authority on the race. He's pulling away, looks like he's going to pick up 3 points barring any mechanical failure for the home side with a lap and a bit to go. Paul Starke pretty unchallenged, comfortable in second. And the 2 Chargers boys all over each other at the back. That's the race. That one you can see on screen there, that is the race as Ashton Vale looks up the inside, gets it wrong, almost comes down. Puts an end to the challenge. Luke Killeen, he'll win the race in red for Oxford. He picks up the 3 points. Paul Starke in blue for Swindon takes second. And in the end, Arran Butcher unchallenged after Ashton Vale just got that last corner wrong. He comes up the rear in the white helmet colour. There's Ashton Vale. Killeen comes round, pops a wheelie for the home crowd. He is a favourite here. Here's Luke. Ridden a lot of speedway here in the last couple of years. So if my scores are right, I think we're on 8 for Oxford, 7 for Wolves, 5 for Swindon and 4 for Cov. But we will confirm that in a moment. You can see it from the tapes. Yeah, Arran Butcher off the inside in yellow. Hats off to you, sir. Great gate. He was with them. It's a great start. To be fair, Ashton VALE left the tape for the boys as well. He was just a bit uncomfortable going into the first turn. But Luke Killeen and Paul Starke, as you'd expect really, they were really sensible, comfortable. Good first turn, 2 turns, got themselves out front. Paul Starke just looking, they got that corner a little bit wrong there, Paul. Coming off a 4, and then that's what just allowed Luke Killeen to pull away from him. And Luke was gone, Paul Starke was comfortable in second, but the battle for 3rd and 4th, that was the one. You can see them all over the top. I think we'll watch this race for its entirety. I think we're going to have a bit of a track grade, so we'll see this through because Ashton VALE did a really clever cutback on that last entry into onto turn 4, onto lap 4, sorry. Here we see, keep an eye, you'll see as they come into shot here, Ashton VALE goes wide and he looks to cut up the inside here. And it just goes a bit wrong, just locks up, doesn't drop it, it loses all the power. And that left Arran Butcher unchallenged for the 3rd place. So four solid heats to start off with. Didn't expect to see a plethora of overtaking early on, but some solid close racing. So there we go. That's our scores on the doors at the moment. So leading the way is the Oxford Cheetahs. Richard Lawson, he picked up a win, as did Luke Killeen, and a couple of 3rd places for Jody SCOTT and Senna SUMMERS. Swindon, they've come into it with a couple of 2nd places from Jason Edwards and Paul Starke. Dan Thompson picking up what is a tough heat, that opening one, he picked up a point in that one. Simon Lambert wasn't very far off of it for there, 5 points for Swindon. The Bees have got 4, a couple of 2nd places for Chris Harris and Joe Thompson. And then, no surprise early on really for the last places for Wayne Broadhurst and Ashton VALE, but they'll come up against riders that they can challenge as the night goes on. And for Wolves, currently sat in 2nd place with 7 points. A couple of race winners in Cam Heeps and Leon Flint, who both look really good and really fast. Arran Butcher there with that point in the last one, and surprisingly, the last place in the opening one for Scott Nicholls, but I'm sure that will change as the night goes on. So yeah, after the first block of 4 heats, Oxford leading the way with 8, from Wolves with 7, Swindon with 5, and Coventry with 4. We will have a winner. The sport without a winner is like a sandwich without butter. You've got to have a winner. Well, you've got to have a bit of butter on your sandwich. So we will have a winner this evening, but the key tonight is getting these names back out there, showing that there's still an appetite from the fans of Swindon, Coventry and Wolverhampton to see Speedway back in their towns and cities. We sincerely hope that happens. And as the track progresses, we're going to do a little bit of track work now. And just do a bit of grading. I don't think any water will go down. We don't need that. It's very cold out there at the moment. And I'll definitely just shift a bit of that dirt around. See if we can't develop that outside line. And a couple of boys were trying that outside line early on. Scott Bomber was out there. Chris was out there in heat number 1. So it may well develop and give us something. That outside line has been profitable here this season. It really was last season. Not so much this year. But again, I always think of a track curator, guys that do this track work. It's a poison chalice. Who'd want it? You know, you get it right occasionally. And the rest of the time you're just working your socks off, sometimes battling against the elements, the weather, just to try and to get a surface that people can compete on. So I don't think we've got a race stat, a gate stat graphic for you, but so far we've had 2 race winners off of gate number 3. In that opening heat, Richard Lawson jumped off of gate 1. And Cameron Heeps off of gate 2. So it's only gate 4 that hasn't delivered us a heat winner as yet. A couple from 3, 1 from 2, 1 from 1. But we've seen it time and again this season, at all levels of Cheetahs, Spars and Chargers, that those gates develop and change and offer as the night goes on. What doesn't give you nothing early on gives you everything as you get to the end of the meeting. So hopefully all the riders get the opportunity to come off of a gate that's profitable at some point. It's not always the way, unfortunately, but Hopefully for them it will be. You can still see a bit of water glistening on the track. That's why they haven't been out with the barrels. There's no point putting any water down on it. You can see it glistening there. That's where it's still a bit moist, should we say? It's not my favourite word. One of my worst words, actually. I can't believe I just said it. But it is quite on the top surface there in places. Here you go. This is a stat from Charlie Meredith, my mate who's watching at home. Wayne Broadhurst last rode, in brackets, for Paul in 2003 when Jason Edwards was just 1. So there you go. There's the gulf we've got between a couple of the riders today and age. Love that, Charlie. Keep him coming. I'll get you on the payroll, Charlie. Love that stat. So we're moving on. Referee's already got that 2 minutes on. We're going to move on with heat number 4. And this is where now we're going to start to see a bit of a mix of riders. Richard Lawson back out in this one. Ashton VALE, this is a tough heat for that young man as he comes out for 2 on the trot. Big heat for him. He's just got to go out and enjoy the experience, that's for sure. And if he can get anything out of this type of heat where he's up against Simon Lambert, Cam Heeps and Richard Lawson, he's going to be doing extremely well. But it's going to be a big ask for him and the likes of Arran Butcher and Senna SUMMERS when they come up against these riders. But it's all about the experience. So Teng Tools, they sponsor heat number 5. Cameron Heeps, winner first time out. He'll be in yellow off the inside for Wolves. Simon Lambert, couple of points for Swindon. Oh no, Simon had a last place, didn't he, in his first one. He's off gate number 2 in blue for the Robins. Ashton VALE, here last place first time out. He's going to be in white off of gate 3 for Coventry. And the winner of heat number 1, Richard Lawson, he's going to be in the red helmet colour off of the outside for Oxford. So Teng Tools, they sponsor this heat. Great supporters of Speedway as a whole and motorsport across the board. Great to have their involvement here at Oxford this year and at most tracks up and down the country. Good to get their sponsorship of this heat number 5. So you've got Richard Lawson and Cameron Heeps, 2 winners first time out. They could well jump out and challenge. If Simon Lambert can get in the mix, he's beaten both those riders at times during his career. And Ashton VALE, if he can trap, he made a decent gate in his last one, Ashton VALE, but then just couldn't keep up with everybody. Just dropped away a little bit, failed to score. Here we go, heat number 5. Takes up and away we go, and it is Simon Lambert, made a great gate, as did Richard Lawson. That was close going in there as he looks to get round the outside of Cameron Heeps, and he does that. Simon Lambert out front for Swindon, Richard Lawson going in deep, fast around the outside. Simon Lambert got his work out in this one. He's out front for Swindon, Richard Lawson second, red for Oxford. Cam Heeps I thought he was going to stay on the coattails of Richard Lawson in second, but he's just drifted back a little bit there in third place, and Ashton VALE as expected at the back. But I tell you what, a couple of laps to go, we've got a race out front. Simon Lambert blue leading the way at the moment for the Swindon Robins. Oxford Cheetahs, Richard Lawson, he's in second place in red helmet colour. Cam Heeps still got that lovely style cam as he goes into the turns. He's in third place at the moment. So with a lap to go, can Richard Lawson get up to challenge Simon Lambert? Simon going to get the first win of the night for the Robins. He's come down the back straight for the final time. Last 2 turns, it is going to be a win for Simon Lambert in blue for the Swindon Robins. Richard Lawson in red in second place. Cameron Heeps in yellow, third for the Wolves. And no shame in coming fourth there. Ashton VALE in a very tough heat. He rolls over in last place. So first win of the night for the Robins. Richard Lawson pushed Simon Lambert all the way, but just could not get up to take the win. Simon Lambert with a great win for him over Richard Lawson and Cameron Heeps. Cov Bees just struggling a little bit with another last place there. That keeps them on 4 points. They've had 3 last places on the spin. And a point for the Wolves and Cameron Heeps. That takes them to 8. So Oxford 10, Swindon and Wolverhampton both on 8 points. And Cov just drifting away a little bit at the back on 4 at the moment. Simon Lambert made a great gate. Rode a really nice line for the full 4 laps. Gets himself out front. So it's Martin Coleman and it's and the Cov Bees that have got their work out here a little bit. You can see it from the oh no, that's a different thing. Oh no, there's Simon Lambert. Keep an eye on Simon in blue and Richard in red. They're the 2 that make the gate. Cam missed the trap a little bit, and Simon just drifted across a little bit, going deeper into that first turn, which almost stopped the run of Richard Lawson a little bit. I thought Richard here was going to do what we've seen so many riders do here this year. There's just not that run around at the moment. There's just not that line. That might come as the meeting develops. But Richard there quite close going into the back wheel. But Simon Lambert, he held on to the win for Swindon. As we move on to heat number 6. Just over a minute to go till tape's up on this one. The Real Mini Company, they're our sponsors of heat number 6. We're just going to see Dan Thompson off the inside in blue for the Swindon Robins. Wayne Broadhurst white for the Coventry Bees off of gate number 2. Jody SCOTT red for Oxford off of gate number 3. And Arran Butcher, he'll be in the yellow helmet colour off of gate number 4. So, as we look at this heat, Dan Thompson, you'd expect him to win it up against these 3 riders. Arran Butcher, Wayne Broadhurst, and Jody SCOTT. To be fair, if Jody can make the gate, he can challenge Dan Thompson for sure. So we might have 2 races in one here again. But an opportunity for Oxford and Swindon here to maybe both just get a little bit of a gap between them and the Wolverhampton Wolves. And Arran Butcher will be looking to get some points over Wayne Broadhurst. And it's the Bees at the minute. It's the Bees only on 4 points after the opening 5 races. They're the ones that need some points. Can Wayne Broadhurst pick them anything up in this one? Into the first turn, and Jody SCOTT's made a belt off of 3 as Dan Thompson has off the inside. Keep an eye on Jody SCOTT up the inside of Dan Thompson. That's a great line from Jody SCOTT. As he moves up the inside, can Dan Thompson repay the favour straight away? Yes, he can. Great opening lap from Dan Thompson and Jody SCOTT as they go toe-to-toe for the first lap. Dan Thompson just stealing the march now. He's out front from Jody SCOTT in second place. Arran Butcher in third, Wayne Broadhurst at the back. But keep an eye on this battle out the front. Jody SCOTT is not going to let Dan Thompson pull away. Arran Butcher looking pretty comfortable in third. That's what Wolverhampton would have wanted. And unfortunately for the Bees, they are going to pick up another last place in this one. But out front, lap to go. Dan Thompson out front from Jody SCOTT. Not sure Jody's going to be able to do anything. Those 2 boys gave us a cracking opening lap, that's for sure. But it looks like it is going to be a win for Dan Thompson in blue for the Swindon Robins. From Jody SCOTT in red for the Oxford Cheetahs. Arran Butcher in third, unchallenged, yellow helmet colour. 3rd place for him. And at the back, Wayne Broadhurst in white for the Cov Bees. So it's fair to say that race probably developed as a lot of us thought it would. What those 2 points do is keep Oxford out front. A win from Dan Thompson. Second one on the trot for Swindon. That takes them to 11 points. Unfortunately for Cov, they didn't pick up anything. That's a 4th last place on the trot for them. Chris Harris out in the next one. Will be looking to change that. And a point for the Wolves. That takes them on to 9. And another winner off of gate 1. Still nothing off of gate 4. So 12 points for Oxford. 11 for the Robins. 9 for the Wolves. And just 4 for the Cov, who need Chris Harris to win this race. And what's to say that he's not going to do it? But I'll tell you what, this is another cracker of a heat, this one. Luke Killeen, Jason Edwards, Chris Harris, Leon Flint. Here we can see it from the tapes. Keep an eye on 1 and 3, Jody SCOTT and Dan Thompson. They're the 2 that make the gate. Again, Arran Butcher made a decent one off of 4, but just didn't have the drive and the power to get up into that first turn to challenge. Now, Jody SCOTT does fantastic here to get up the inside of Dan Thompson, but I think Dan makes the decision pretty early that he's going to hug that line and just try and move Jody SCOTT over, which he did to get himself back out front. And then really the heat was his. Jody SCOTT didn't let him rest though. He was on his back wheel for the full 4 laps. Just couldn't get up into that race-winning position. So, heat number 7. Just over a minute to go. And this is a cracking heat, this one. Off the inside for Wolves in yellow will be Leon Flint. Jason Edwards blue off of gate 2 for Swindon. Chris Harris, Coventry, gate number 3 in the white helmet colour. And Luke Killeen, winner first time out. He's in red off of the outside for Oxford. So, in Leon Flint, Luke Killeen, we've got a couple of riders that won heats. Bomber got a second one in his opening ride. And Jason Edwards, he also picked up a second place in his opening ride. So, as we move on with heat number 7, excuse Excuse my silence, just filling in a bit on my programme there. Can't multitask. So, good heat number 7, Luke Killeen, Jason Edwards, Chris Harris, Leon Flint. Green light on, takes it up and away we go. It's a bit of an untidy start there. Jason Edwards immediately cut to the curb. Will that pay dividends? Yeah, he's held on to second place, but Leon Flint looking like he's going to get another race win early on here. He's out front from Jason Edwards. Luke Killeen in third, and Cov needs Chris Harris to be in the points. No question about that as he looks to get a run around Luke Killeen, and he's done that fantastically well. Right, here we go. What has Chris Harris got in the tank? Can he use what grip is out there to get himself up? Challenge Jason Edwards for second place. He's already kicked off. Luke Killeen at the back, he goes in a bit hot, gets it. Roll! Really untidy one there. We're going to see the red lights come on. You can immediately see there. Leon Flint was out front. Whether the referee will call that one or not, I don't know. Leon Flint was out front. Jason Edwards second. It didn't look like they were going to get challenged, them two. Chris Harris had worked his way up into third place ahead of Luke Killeen, and that was just an ugly looking crash. He's on his feet, Luke, so he is back up. But just seemed to go in a little bit hot. Keep an eye on Luke here in red. Goes in here, just gets it wrong there, whether he had to straighten up a little bit, but then it just takes him up over the top. Really ugly looking crash, but he is up and walking back. I was worried for wrists there a little bit, wrists and arms. So he will be excluded as the cause of the stoppage, but it's just whether or not the referee will award that. Wouldn't surprise me if he did. So I was just listening in there to see. Body language of the riders will tell me. Everyone's going in, so I think that result will stand for 7. Okay, let's just wait and see. Everyone's gone in, whether that's just a precaution for a second or not, just to... They weren't into the third lap. It was only on the second lap, but it was... There's 2 minutes. Sorry, okay, I was listening in again now. I can't really hear. I think we might get a rerun on that one. That 2 minutes has come on pretty quick, and we weren't in the third lap, so... But Leon Flint was looking pretty comfortable out front. Starting to stretch a bit with Jason Edwards, and but we want to see racing. I'd rather see the rerun than a awarded result. Just means that Leon Flint's got to do all that again. And it gives Chris Harris another shot at this. Yeah, there's Chris. He's getting ready to go again. So we are going to get a rerun, which is good. Thankfully, Luke Killeen is up and okay. Yeah, he just got it wrong. I didn't know whether he had to just ride. Keep an eye on Chris Harris there. Yeah, does Luke have to try and change line because of the way that the line that Chris was riding, and he just went up and over the top. And you could immediately see he just sat still for a moment. He sat up, he was sat still. So that told you he wasn't going to get his bike up off the track quickly. He wasn't in a position to do so. Thankfully, Luke is okay. That is the most important thing. And we'll get a rerun. It'll just be a rerun without an Oxford Cheetah. No representative in red for the home side. Leon Flint, yellow off the inside for Wolves. Next to him, Jason Edwards in blue for Swindon. Off gate 3 in white will be Chris Harris for Coventry, and Luke Killeen there excluded off of gate number 4 for Oxford. So just 3 riders in this one. Chris Harris gets the opportunity to go again. So here we go, rerun of heat number 7. Tapes go up and away we go, and it's a similar picture into the first turn with Leon Flint out front. Jason Edwards on the inside, but keep an eye on Chris. Bomber Harris, can he get between the two? No, he can't. So the picture at the moment is the same. Leon Flint out front, Jason Edwards second, but Chris has already changed that picture. Here he goes for the Cov Bees. What has Chris Harris got? Can he get up to challenge Leon Flint? It looks like he's going to give it a go for the next 3 laps. Jason Edwards just cut adrift a little bit there in third place. Chris looks to the inside, Leon on the outside. A couple of laps to go, this one will go to the checkered flag. Keep an eye on Chris Harris, he's just trying to push Will he try and use that slightly deeper, longer, wider line? Does work here. With a lap to go, I'm not sure he's going to be able to make it work. Commentator's cursed. Leon Flint is riding a nice line. It's going to be quite difficult to catch him there. The one thing I do know is Jason Edwards is going to come third. It is going to be a win for Wolves and for Leon Flint in yellow. Second place, Bomber Harris in white. Jason Edwards blue, third for Swindon. Second win of the evening for Leon Flint. Point for Swindon, that takes them to 12. That takes them level with Oxford. 2 points for Cov, that takes them to 6 points. And a 3-point win for the Wolves. It's going to take them to 12 as well. So we are 12, 12, 12 and a 6. Nice and close. So 2 second places so far for Chris Harris. 2 wins for Leon Flint. So the picture was the same for a lap. Leon out front for Wolves, Jason Edwards Swindon second and Bomber third. And then Bomber does what Bomber does. He got himself around the outside of Jason Edwards. Jason just lifting a little bit there. But again, turning up, riding that curve really nice. I thought Chris might just get right down between the two of the guys there, but didn't make it work. But watch Chris just goes in a bit deeper here. Jason, almost in the middle of nowhere. And you do get picked off here when you ride that line. And Bomber then held on to that second place. So we move on to heat number 8. Nice and tight at the top, 3 teams on 12. Paul Starke, blue helmet colour off the inside for Swindon. Senna SUMMERS, red off of gate number 2 for Oxford. Joe Thompson, he'll be in the white helmet colour off gate 3 for Coventry. And Scotty Nicholls, he will be in yellow off of the outside for the Wolverhampton Wanderers. Abingdon Beds, they're our sponsors off heat number 8. And as you can see, graphic top corner, Oxford 12, Swindon 12, Wolves 12, and Cov on 6. So a bit of work to do for the Bees, but the other 3 all battling away at the top of the order. So the riders have got about a minute of gardening to get themselves ready to go. Program is now up to date. It's not multitasking. Again, so here we go. Heat number 8, Senna SUMMERS, Paul Starke, Joe Thompson, Scott Nicholls. Scott will be looking to get points on the board from the outside gate for the Wolves. Up go the tails. Senna SUMMERS made a great gate there off 2. He's just got him beaten up left, right and centre, and keep an eye on Scott Nicholls as he makes that big switch all the way back to front. Into the lead. Paul Starke in second. Will he be able to get back up the inside of Scott? So Scott Nicholls out front, Paul Starke second, Joe Thompson at the moment in third. And Senna SUMMERS, who made a great gate and was in that mix. That'll be something for him to look back on this heat on, because he was there or thereabouts with these big hitters. For him, going into that first turn, but then just got beaten up left, right and centre. And that sent him to the back. And this race, probably the most spread out race we've seen. Scotty Nicholls out front for the Wolves. Looks like he's going to take them into the lead from Paul Starke in blue for Swindon in second. And Joe Thompson in third in white and then for Cov. With a lap to go, pretty straightforward this one. Less to talk about than the others. Scott Nicholls had to work hard in that first lap to get there. But he takes the win for Wolves in yellow. Paul Starke in blue for Swindon in second. Coventry and Joe Thompson white in third. And Senna SUMMERS, who, again, not have his depth, that's not the right thing to say, but it's a tough heat for him. And he was there or thereabouts in that first turn, you have to give it to him. And then all of a sudden, riders were shooting past him all over the place. And he found himself out the back. What that does is take Wolves into the lead. 3 points for them, that takes them to 15. The second place for Swindon, that takes them on to 14. No points for Oxford, that will keep them on 12 points. And a point for Coventry, that takes them on to 7. So that's our second block of 4 heats. It doesn't look like we're going to have any track work here. We might just have a couple of minutes break. Paul Starke's got 2 back-to-back for Swindon. Here we can see it from tapes. Watch Senna SUMMERS in red, because it's a tough heat for him, this one. But look, he's made a great gate there in his front wheel. He's leading that heat going up into the first turn, but then all of a sudden, ping, 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 and he finds himself at the back. Scott Nicholls, loads of drive coming up that back straight. Was in the right position to take advantage of where Paul Starke was on the track. Paul not necessarily in the wrong place. But Scott was just able to use the position he was in and get that drive up the inside of him into the lead. So there we go. That's where we're at the moment. Leading the way, Wolverhampton Wanderers there, right on the end. 2 race winners for Leon Flint. Cameron Heeps with 4, Scott Nicholls with 3, Arran BUTCHER with 2, all contributing for the Wolves. In second place is Swindon, they've got 14 at the moment. And again, even across there, Paul Starke 4, Dan Thompson 4, and Jason Edwards and Simon Lambert with 3 points apiece. In third place is Oxford there. Richard Lawson with a win and a second. And points for both Jody SCOTT and Killeen. And Senna SUMMERS with a third place. And just leading, coming from the back at the moment is the Coventry Bees. Chris Harris with 4. A couple of second places for him. Joe Thompson with the 3 points. And Wayne Broadhurst and Ashton VALE just failing to score at this point. That leaves them on 7 points. So there's our points on the board. Coventry, yeah, their side with Wayne and Ashton maybe are just fighting a little bit compared to the other sides. Wayne hasn't been riding competitively at all in terms of Speedway this year, and Ashton's only been in the National League, whereas all the other sides have got a Championship and a Premiership representative. That just made the going a little bit tough for them at this stage. But from a last in his first one to a win in his second one for Scott Nicholls, that's what you'd expect from him. And what did he give us? He gave us a winner for gate number 4. So we've now had winners off of every gate. 3 off of the inside. A couple off of 2. A couple off of 3. And then that one there from Scott off of gate 4. So every gate can deliver. You can see him in the pictures talking to his Neil Levitts there on the left. Paul Hurry on the right. Some pit crew he's got in there tonight with him, Scott Nicholls. So, thank you for joining us this evening. I hope you're enjoying the Speedway so far. The stream is copyright of Oxford Speedway TV. Any reproduction, sharing, posting or illegal distribution of the content in any form without permission will result in the said account being closed down, blocked, and future Oxford Speedway TV broadcasts along with other associated channels on this platform will be null and void, and we'll send the boys around as well. Send the management round. So thank you for paying for it. Thank you for enjoying it. It's great to have you on board. And if you've been a regular viewer this year, if you can't always get to the meetings or you just like a fix every now and then, it's been really great to have you. From our team this season, running the stream, we've really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed bringing you the Speedway. From an Oxford perspective, it would have been nice to bring you a bit more success for the Spires. Cheetahs did well at home. Maybe just not enough away from home to be able to get themselves up into a more competitive position. But again, tonight is a celebration for the Chargers as well. And they did bring silverware. So our referee Chris DURNO has put the 2 minutes on. We'll move into heat number 9. Paul Starke 2 back-to-back for Swindon. You can see Wayne Broadhurst again for Cov. Leon Flint unbeaten so far. So again, 3 riders in this one in Richard Lawson for Oxford, Paul Starke for Swindon, Leon Flint for Wolves. Could all jump out and win this one. Richard Lawson will find himself off a 3. Paul Starke off the outside. Wayne Broadhurst, he'll be off the inside for Coventry, and Leon Flint off for gate 2. As we move into the second half of the meeting, it is the Wolves that are leading the way. That crash, you can see Luke Killeen there. He's probably just come out of the St John's, the first aid room there. Any lasting damage from that spill? But it was that spill there in Heat 7. We saw him excluded. Then the last place for Senna SUMMERS. That's just what's seen them drop down away from the Wolves, and a couple of points off of Swindon, but Richard Lawson, Oxford have got a man that can jump out and win this one for sure, as have Leon, Flint and Wolves. Paul Starke, a couple of second places for Starke so far for Swindon. So SD Timo Car Sales, they are our sponsors, great sponsors of this club and sponsors of Heat number 9. And Heat 9 that's going to see the experienced veteran Wayne Broadhurst off the inside in white for Coventry. Leon Flint unbeaten so far, yellow helmet cut off for gate number 2 for the Wolves. Richard Lawson, 5 points for him so far. He'll be in red off of gate 3 for Oxford. And 2 second places for Paul Starke. He will be in blue off of gate number 4 for the Swindon Robins. Maybe Peter Schroeck might just have something to think about with Luke Killeen's injured, but we shall see. Here we go, Heat number 9. Tapes go up and away we go, and it's Leon Flint who flew from the tapes again. Richard Lawson's looking for the curb, Paul Starke's looking for the run around the outside, but they come out of turn 2 with Leon Flint from Richard Lawson, from Paul Starke, and Wayne Broadhurst, who's definitely getting quicker, but this is a tough heat for him. He's just cut adrift again at the back, but Leon's pulling away out front. He's in fantastic form, Leon Flint, tonight. He's out front, and let's be fair, he's in fantastic form. It's the end of the season. He's beating riders in Richard Lawson, Paul Starke, who have had good seasons. So Leon really is showing them the way to go tonight. This is going to be the 3rd win on the trot for him, and it's going to extend Wolves' lead at the top of the standings. He's pulled away, so it's only a mechanical or a fall that's going to stop Leon Flint from winning this one. From Richard Lawson in 2nd from Oxford, Paul Starke in blue for Swindon in 3rd. Wayne Broadhurst is always going to find the going tough, but brilliant to see Wayne Broadhurst out on track. But Leon Flint out front in yellow for Wolves takes the win. Red, 2nd place Oxford, Richard Lawson, and Paul Starke just glides over. And there's Wayne Broadhurst in 4th place for the Coventry Bees. But again, no shame in coming last in that company there for him. Comes round, take the applause from the crowd. That just extends Wolves' lead to 18, 15 for Swindon, 14 for Oxford, and just the 7 for the Bees. But 3 from 3 for Leon, he's in great form, riding fantastically well. Takes Paul Starke onto 5 for the Robins. Solid scoring from him. Maybe you can see it from the start. We'll just keep an eye on Leon off gate 2. He makes a worldie of a gate. Great trap. Just got that run up to the first turn. Thought Richard was going to try and get that cut back. At the same time, Paul Starke was going to try and get the run around the outside. And it was just from here whether Richard Lawson could do anything. But already Leon, he's out in that deeper stuff. He just pulled away magnificently well on that first lap. Essentially put the heat to bed. So 18 to the Wolves, 15 to the Robins, 14 to the Cheetahs, 7 to the Bees. That's the running scores as we move into heat number 10. And into heat number 10, County Plumbing Supplies. They are our sponsors. Scott Nicholls, yellow helmet colour for the Wolves off the inside. Ashton VALE for Coventry, white helmet colour off of gate number 2. Jason Edwards, he'll be in the blue helmet colour off of gate number 3 for Swindon. And Jody SCOTT, he will be in red off of gate number 4 for the Cheetahs. So again, team managers, Peter Schroeck, Alun ROSSITER, Martin Coleman, Sam Ermolenko. They're not here to make massive changes this evening. This is about allowing all the riders to get out on track, get some laps. It's whether or not, we'll see Wayne Broadhurst again for his 4th ride, whether he'll be up there for doing it. That's when Martin Coleman might have a decision to make. I don't know how that works in terms of the rules. Be nice to see all the riders just take their full 4 rides and grace the track 4 times to finish their seasons. We shall see. So we're on to heat number 10. Jody SCOTT, Jason Edwards, Ashton VALE, Scott Nicholls. Win last time out for Scott. Jody SCOTT, 3 points on the board. Jason Edwards, 3 points on the board. Here we go. And Jason Edwards lifting's made a great start for 3. He'll get up over the top. And I tell you what, it was Ashton VALE that made the gate that got in the way of Scott Nicholls going up into that first turn, and I think that's what allowed Jason Edwards to come all the way around the outside of everybody and into the lead. We go into lap number 2. Scott Nicholls in second, putting Jason under pressure. Third place at the minute is Ashton VALE, ahead of a bit of a surprise Jody SCOTT at the back. So, 2 battles in one here. Jason Edwards out front, being trapped all the way by Scott Nicholls. Didn't see what happened to Ashton VALE there, but he's gone from a third place to the back with Jody SCOTT moving into third. Jody SCOTT's going to be unchallenged in that third position. If a position's going to change hands, it's out the front, because Scott Nicholls is all over the back of Jason Edwards. Jason just getting that a little bit wrong, but gets his wheels in line and actually probably end up getting more speed and power as he came off of the outside there of turn 2, but he's going to take the win in blue for Swindon. Second place, Scott Nicholls in yellow for Wolves. Third place is Jody SCOTT in red for the Cheetahs, and Ashton VALE, who was in that third place. I was watching the front two because there was such a gap between the front and the back. I missed exactly what happened to Ashton VALE there. Something went wrong. That allowed Jody SCOTT to get up. So that 1 point will take Oxford on to 15. The 3 for Swindon, that will take them on to 18. Fortunately for Cov again, nothing. That keeps them on 7. And the 2 points for Scott Nicholls and Wolves, that takes them on to 20. So that keeps them in the lead. A couple of points ahead of Swindon, and now just a bit of a 5-point gap back down to the Cheetahs. A great win for Jason Edwards, but that first turn, Ashton VALE had made the gate and was in the mix with Scott Nicholls in that first turn. And I think that was ultimately what caused Scott a bit of bother with Jason Edwards as well. And you take your hat off to Ashton VALE for making the gate. Here we go. You can see it from the start. Keep an eye on Ashton there in white. There's our man. He makes a great start. Jason Edwards lifts going up, but has got plenty of power. And maybe a tiny roller there from Ashton VALE actually, but the referee didn't spot it. But look, he's clamping Scott there, and Scott does get the run underneath him eventually. But what that allowed Jason Edwards to do is get that movement and get that run around the outside of him, of everybody, and into the lead. And then it was to see whether Scott Nicholls could do anything about it. Jason just pulled it. Scott was on his tail, but didn't ever look like he was really going to challenge. And it was the battle at the back between Jody SCOTT and Ashton VALE. That was where there we go, just locked up. There we go, I missed that first time round. That's a shame, because that was going to develop into a nice battle then too, for the remainder of that race. But unfortunately Ashton just locked up, and that allowed Jody into third. And that was that race done. So just a bit of time while we wait here. Is it because we're not going to see Luke Killeen again? I think it is. Jody SCOTT's still got his red helmet on there in the pits, and that's Luke to the right of your screen, so I imagine he's picked up a bit of a knock in that one. And again, I don't know the intricacies of the rules for this one, because I didn't read the rule book before I got up here, I'll be totally honest with you. But it's obviously an injured rider replacement. And it looks like Schroeck is going to use Jody SCOTT. That's potentially what this bit of a delay is. You can see Cam Heeps there in the yellow helmet colour on track, ready to go, as is Joe Thompson in white for Coventry. And we're going to see Dan Thompson. So both the Thompson boys up against each other in this one. And I was talking to their dad Darren in the pits earlier on, and he was saying obviously the eyes at the minute are on Dan, because Dan has made that step, he's made that leap, and he's riding brilliantly for Glasgow and scoring great points, winning the league with Ipswich. But Joe is ahead of where Darren potentially thought he was going to be. He's not necessarily getting the points in that top league. For Plymouth he was, for sure. But in that top league, no easy races when you're reserve in that top division. But Joe was pretty content with the strides he's made forward, as was his dad Darren, as was the guys at Leicester. It's tough. But yeah, I think we'll see a lot more from Joe as the seasons progress over the next couple of years. We don't know what the league format's going to be, but he's definitely going to be in there somewhere. Plenty more to come from Joe Thompson, but he's up against his brother in this one. Always brotherly love, I'm sure, but there'll always be always going to want to get the better of your brother, get one over on him. Just looking, I think it is going to be Jody. I think that's what that slight delay was to just give Jody SCOTT a bit more time. I can't see for sure because my eyes aren't that good. Here we go. Looks like Jody SCOTT to me. So Luke Killeen's obviously picked up an injury, which is a shame for him. So here we go. Jody SCOTT off the inside, injured rider replacement for Luke Killeen, red helmet colour for Oxford. Gate 2, Joe Thompson, white for Coventry. Needs to get some points for Cov. Just cut adrift away a little bit. Cam Heeps, he's had a win tonight already. He's going to be in yellow off of gate 3 for Wolves. And Dan Thompson, he's had a win. He's going to be in blue off the outside for Swindon. Smith the Bletchingley, they sponsor heat number 11. And as we said, it's a heat 11 that sees Jody SCOTT come in for Luke Killeen, who picked up an injury in that crash he had in his previous ride. So we're potentially going to see him replaced in this one and in his next one in heat 15. But for the moment, let's concentrate on this one. 20 points to the Wolves, 18 to Swindon, 15 to Oxford, and Cov on 7. Let's see what heat 11 delivers. Whoa, tape's not releasing. It's the worst thing for the bikes, that. Those bikes revving to bits. You see the clutch coolers come out all the time in the pits between heats. Can't imagine the heat that's generated from the clutch plates when they're sat revving at the start like that. Hence the reason Cameron Heeps has been given 10 seconds to just roll around and just relieve that clutch for a moment, and we get to go again. Should we have had a test? I feel like we should have had a test of the tapes in that little gap there so it doesn't happen again, but I'm not the referee, I'm not the start marshal. But I wouldn't be a very happy rider or mechanic if they don't go up this time. Fingers crossed. Here we go. Jody SCOTT, Dan Thompson, Joe Thompson, Cameron Heeps, heat 11, try again. Tapes go up and away we go. Problems off the inside for Jody SCOTT. Dan Thompson up the inside into second place over his brother Joe Thompson, but it's Cameron Heeps who made the gate, got himself out front, looking quick. Dan Thompson in second, Joe Thompson third. Jody SCOTT, who had problems at the start and didn't get away really, he's in fourth, but he's got his back wheel in that deep stuff. He's got a nice run around 1 and 2 there. He's going to be chasing now. Keep an eye on Dan Thompson out front. Cameron Heeps is on that wider line. Dan Thompson's up the inside. Looking to put a move on. Will he get straight line speed here up the inside? It's going to be a good battle for the last lap and a bit here. Cameron Heeps and Dan Thompson out front. Joe Thompson's pretty secure in third place. Jody SCOTT at the back, so a lap to go. Cam Heeps out front, but Dan's gone in hot there. Up the inside of Cam. Drifts across the corner there. We've got a big 2 turns to go here. Dan's putting loads of pressure on Cameron Heeps. Boy, he's almost cut back too much there, but on the run to the line. Cameron Heeps holds on. He looked to do the cutback and he almost got off and stopped and had a sandwich there and a cup of tea. But it was a win in yellow for Cameron Heeps. From in blue for Swindon, Dan Thompson. And Joe Thompson picks up a point in third for Cov. And Jody SCOTT had problems at the start there, and that cost him dearly. But Wolves are moving in the right direction. That takes them on to 23. Swindon on 20. The point takes Coventry up to 8. And Oxford stay on 15. So it looks like this meet could develop into a 2-horse race, Swindon and Wolves, unless something magical can happen from the Oxford boys. Yeah, it's a shame Jody SCOTT had problems on the start there. Keep an eye on. Dan Thompson's gone really hot here, and he's looking for that cutback, and whoa, he's almost got it right. Almost got that right. That was unlucky. It's a good effort from Dan. Cam Heeps gets his second win of the afternoon, the evening. Joe Thompson's picked up points in every one of his rides. So, the ref hasn't bothered with the 2 minutes, so we're not going to bother with the 2 minutes. All the riders are up at tapes. And it's a heat that's going to see Chris Harris off the inside for Coventry, white helmet colour. Off gate 2 is Arran Butcher, a couple of third places for Arran so far. Yellow helmet colour off of gate 2 for the Wolves. Simon Lambert, he's going to be in blue off of gate number 3 for Swindon, winner last time out. And Senna SUMMERS, who was in the mix in those first 2 turns in his last one, he's going to be in red off of the outside for Oxford. Colin Perkins Property Maintenance, they sponsor heat number 12. And again, it's a heat which could see maybe a couple of battles. Simon Lambert and Chris Harris going at it. and then Arran Butcher and Senna SUMMERS for that solitary point. So for Coventry, I'm not sure they're going to have a chance of winning this anymore, but they're going to want to get as many points as they can, and 3 from Chris here would do very nicely. Can Swindon draw in Wolves in this one? Arran Butcher's picked up 2 good third places in his 2 rides so far, and they'll be looking for him to do that again. But Senna SUMMERS, let's see if he can make a start like he did last time out. Heat number 12. Away we go. It's Arran Butcher in yellow, and he's going to get over the top of Bomber here, or is he going to get in the way of Simon Lambert? He made a good gate, Arran Butcher. And halfway down that back straight, he was still in the mix. But as you kind of expect, Chris Harris out front. No disasters, 3 points incoming for the Coventry Bees here. Simon Lambert already looking pretty comfortable and unchallenged in second place. Arran Butcher made a great gate and was in amongst it, and those first 2 turns and back straight. He's in third and is going to get another point on the board, and that's good for the Wolves. They'll take that. And Senna SUMMERS at the back for the Cheetahs, whose meeting has gone wrong in those last few heats. So again, this one pretty strung out. Take a great commentator to make anything of this one. Let's enjoy the style of Chris Harris out front. Let's enjoy the battle of Senna SUMMERS, who's just putting Arran Butcher under pressure at the back. But it's 3 points for Chris Harris in white for the Coventry Bees, miles away from Simon Lambert in blue for the Robins in second place. And Arran Butcher does hold on to get his third place of the evening in yellow for the Wolves, with Senna SUMMERS at the back. For the Cheetahs. But I'll tell you who's going to be the happiest, and that's probably Ermolenko and the Wolves. Bomber comes around to take the applause. That gets Coventry into double figures, but that 1 point just keeps Wolves 2 ahead of Swindon. And Arran Butcher with 3 third places, he's done his job, you would say, so far. Simon Lambert gets the second place, that takes him to 5 for his endeavours. So that's another block of 4 heats done. The tapes are coming down, so we may well see a bit of a grade here, briefly. And what it's going to do is it's going to give me an opportunity to put my top on. This is going to get a bit cold. Not that I'm topless, obviously, but just my, I could be, but I'm not. So keep an eye on Arran Butcher here in yellow. Top on. He makes a great gate, and he's in the mix going into those first 2 turns. Look at him, he's made the best gate out of anybody. He's over the top of Bomber. And if he'd have ridden that a little bit narrow and a little bit tighter, he might have well stopped that run of Chris Harris. But what he ended up doing was moving across track almost into the way of Simon Lambert in blue and just blocking his run a little bit. But fair play to Arran, because he made the gate, and he was, again, in that mix in that first turn. So here we go, let's have a look. We'll go top to bottom on this one. Oxford Cheetahs, they're currently sat on 15 points. Just kind of gone wrong a little bit for them in the last couple of heats. But Richard Lawson's leading the way with 7, as you'd expect. Jody SCOTT with 4. Luke Killeen, we might not see Luke again. He had a win first time out, then a fall, and then was replaced by Jody SCOTT. And Senna SUMMERS picking up a point so far. For the Robins, they're sat in second place at the minute on 22. And again, good scoring across the board for them. Dan Thompson and Jason Edwards both with 6 points apiece. And Simon Lambert and Paul Starke both with a very solid 5. They're doing well, the Robins. Just 1 last place in amongst all of that for Simon Lambert. For the Bees, yeah, they've struggled a little bit, the Bees. Chris Harris has got 7 points, leading the way as you'd expect. Joe Thompson, he's picked up a point in every ride, 2 points and a couple of third places for his 4. And absolutely nothing wrong with Wayne Broadhurst and Ashton VALE not scoring so far, because they're up against it in every one of their heats. Although Ashton could have got a point in that last one. But they're out there giving it their all. And for the Wolves, they're leading the way on 24 points at the moment. Leon Flint unbeaten with 9. Cameron Heeps riding exceptionally well. A couple of race wins for him and a 3rd place for his 7. Scott Nicholls has come to the party after an opening place last. He's got a win and a 2nd. And Arran Butcher with 3 solid 3rd places. So he's the man that's doing that job at the minute. It's keeping them in the lead. You'd kind of expect Scott, Leon and Cameron to do what they're doing. But you need to have that 4th rider that's picking up those 3rd places, and that is what they have got at the minute over Oxford. It's definitely over the Bees, and Swindon are just solid throughout. So it's looking like we're going to have we've got 4 more heats to go. It's a 2-point lead for Wolves over the Robins. So them 2 are in a straight shootout now for the win. And Cover just reeling in a little bit there. When you look back a few heats, there was a 5-point gap. It was a slightly bigger gap. There was a 7-point gap between Coventry and Oxford. That's now down to 4. So it'll be interesting to see if they can just reel in Oxford into that 3rd place maybe. So round ride's coming up. In the next one, it's Jason Edwards for the Robins and it's Arran Butcher for the Wolves. So Alun ROSSITER will be looking like there's an opportunity for Swindon there to potentially get maybe in the lead. But with Richard Lawson and Joe Thompson in there, that's a tough heat. Next one's going to see Jody SCOTT, Paul Starke, Chris Harris, Cam Heeps. That's a tough heat, 14 actually. Anybody could win that one. Luke Killeen will have another RRR in his next one. We won't see Luke, I don't think. So, interesting 4 heats to go. It's going to go to the wire, you'd anticipate. If you look at the shootout between the top 2, it's Jason Edwards and Arran Butcher. And the next one is Paul Starke against Cameron Heeps. That's pretty even. Heat 15. He's going to see Scott Nicholls and Simon Lambert. And then the last one will be Dan Thompson against Leon Flint. That could come right down to that last heat. But Oxford and Coventry will have a say in what's going on. Of course they will. So we're just having a bit of a break. There's no grading going on. The tapes have come back, but the grader hasn't come out. I think we're going to run with the track as it is. Again, the temperature's really dropped now. It's really cold out there as you look across to the pits. Jamie Courtney there just on the mic. Can't quite make out what he's saying, but he's obviously talking to the crowd, thanking them for everything they've done. And again, just any reproduction of this, sharing, posting illegal distributions, content without any form of permission will result in the said account being closed down, blocked, and all future Oxford TV broadcasts. So thank you for joining us this evening. I hope you're enjoying it. Maybe the last Speedway fix of the year. It's great if you've been to tracks this year and enjoyed your live Speedway, but also if you've been buying streams from BSN or from any of the individual tracks that have done it. It all supports the clubs, it all supports the sport. As we go into, I've heard every AGM for the last few years say this is the most important AGM in Speedway. I think it's been the most important AGM for years, but every year seems to be that way. This one, it will be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what people's thoughts are on what they think is going to happen. Everyone's got an opinion. What that top league might look like. Will there be 3 leagues? Is there going to be 2? Big shout to Marie and Wayne who are at home watching. Wayne, former rider, solid mechanic as well. Of late, Wayne. He actually rode for the junior Oxford team here. I'm sure he'll have had a Swindon sprockets. He could have been riding tonight, Wayne. Could have got you out there, Wayne Parker. Great to have you watching, Wayne, Marie. Are you both good? Peter Schroeck just being introduced to the crowd, chatting to the crowd as well. Track staff with a well-needed cup of tea or coffee, making their way over. Jamie Lee on the decks in the middle, in the centre green, as he is for most meetings here. So we've still only got that one gate winner, gate 4 winner, which was Scott Nicholls in heat number 8. We've seen gates 2 and 3 come to the party. Chris Harris off of 1 in the last one. But yeah, just that one winner off of gate 4. And in this next block of heats, Joe Thompson finds himself there. Jason Edwards off of 1. And this is Jamie Lee. Sound Enterprises. Always out there, come rain or shine. Well, not come rain, because if he's raining we're not here, are we? But you know what I mean. Can be booked for private functions. There's a lot of work with his decks, his DJ work outside of Speedway. Does this because he loves it. And there's no better place to watch Speedway than the centre green. Anybody that's listened to our streams before, have heard me banging on about it. If you can see a race from the centre green at any of your local tracks next season, take that opportunity. The perspective you get on the racing from that centre green is phenomenal. The speed and skill and closeness is just ramped up tenfold when you see that. So they're just doing the 50-50, a lucky dip. I doubt they'll drag this out very much longer because it is pretty chilly for anybody out on the terraces this evening. It's a big shout out to anybody that's able to get along and support tonight. Decent scattering around turns 3 and 4 here. You can see a couple of bodies up on turn 2, and underneath me down the bottom here there's a decent crowd. Good that they're able to get this meeting on. So tape's coming back across, the chalk is out. You can see the grooves there on the different start lines. Always offers here, gate offers as the meeting develops. Lines, different ruts, different starting position do always offer. So if we can just follow Jason Edwards back along there. Jason Edwards walking, let's just follow Jason. Yeah, I was just seeing if I could see somebody that I knew in the pits there. I'm not 100% if it was TV Trev or not. Might have been. But Jason Edwards is going to come out for Swindon, who are 2 points down into the Wolves. So they will want him to jump out the start like he did in the last one. Great win in his last one for Jason Edwards. He's had a win, a second and a third so far. He got that win over Scott Nicholls and Jody SCOTT in his last one. And they'll be hoping he can do the same thing over Richard Lawson, Joe Thompson and Arran Butcher in this one. So you can see Jason Edwards there, middle screen, blue helmet colour. Just behind him is Luke Killeen there, next to his bike. So he looks okay, Luke. So maybe it's just a precaution that they didn't put him out in the last one. And maybe he'll sit this one out, sit his next ride out as well. But thankfully he's up and he's all right. That's the most important thing. So track staff make their way back out. Paramedics. So we've got 4 more heats to go, 13 through to 16. That will close the main team programme. We'll get a winner at the end of that. And then the 4 top scorers, one from each team, will go into that individual final, which will be our 17th heat of the night. And at the minute, it is Richard Lawson. For Swindon, it's one of Dan Thompson and Jason Edwards at the moment. Chris Harris for Coventry, and Leon Flint. A bit against him at the minute. He's flying tonight, Leon Flint. He's the man leading the way for Wolves. But Cam Heeps with 7 and Scott Nicholls with 5. Cam Heeps can overtake him, but wouldn't bet against it beyond Leon Flint. So here they come for heat number 13. Them two rolling towards the start. The quality of our picture that we're showing you this evening, everybody. If it's flickering, it's your Wi-Fi. It's nothing to do with us. Jason Edwards in blue there, Richard Lawson in red. That'll be a cracking heat. They'll be joined by Joe Thompson white. There we go. There's the full lineup. Jamie Lee Sound Enterprises, sponsors off heat 13. Jason Edwards, blue helmet colour, Swindon Robins off the inside. Richard Lawson, red helmet colour, Oxford Cheetahs off of gate number 2. They will be joined by Arran Butcher, yellow helmet colour, gate 3 for the Wolves. And Joe Thompson, white helmet colour for Coventry off of gate number 4. Did I say Arran Butcher in white? I meant yellow if I said white. Obviously Joe Thompson's in white for Coventry off of gate number 4. Heat 13, Jamie Lee Sound Enterprises. Straight shootout I think now between the Wolves and the Robins, 24-22. That takes me back to a couple of grand finals. Swindon had against the Wolves. Wolves took one, Swindon took the other. Fantastic speedway between those two clubs, as we've seen from Coventry, Oxford down the years. 5 top flight titles for Wolves, 5 for Swindon, 5 for Oxford, and I think it's 7 or 8 for Coventry. So 4 clubs that have a huge presence in the history of British Speedway. Only one on track at the moment, all 4 tonight obviously. So let's enjoy why we've got these 4 clubs on track. Heat number 13. Richard Lawson, Jason Edwards, Joe Thompson, Arran Butcher, taped up and away we go. And it is Richard Lawson over the top of Jason Edwards, and I'll tell you what, Arran Butcher's come all the way around the outside. That's Cameron Heeps, isn't it? I'll tell you what, it's definitely Joe Thompson in 4th. That Arran Butcher's like a man possessed in yellow. I thought he was somebody else. He's doing so well. Jason Edwards is really going to have to work hard to get up into 2nd place here. Arran Butcher, I don't know what he's changed, but he's riding really well. He's picked up points in every one of his rides, but I tell you what, that's a great line from Jason Edwards. But Arran Butcher, I take my hat off because I wasn't sure that was you for a second there, because you were fully in the mix. Richard Lawson, he's disappeared. He's going to get a race win here. Jason Edwards has worked his way up into 2nd from a fantastic effort from Arran Butcher in 3rd. Honestly didn't think that was Arran then for a moment. And in 4th place, Joe Thompson seemed to have problems from the tapes. He didn't look comfortable when he left the start there, and so that's proof for the remainder of the heat. But hasn't been a problem for Richard Lawson out front. Red helmet colour. He takes the win for Oxford. 2nd place is Jason Edwards for Swindon. From Arran Butcher, who has picked up points in every one of his rides and deserves a huge pat on the back for that. And Joe Thompson didn't look comfortable from the start there, and that race certainly didn't go his way. So 3 points for Oxford, that takes them to 18. 2 points for the Robins, that takes them on to 24. Nothing for Cov, not been their night, they stay on 11. And that 1 point from Arran Butcher, which he's done in every one of his rides, that just keeps Wolves ahead on 25. Jason Edwards had to work really hard for those 2 points to get ahead of Arran Butcher. So Richard Lawson, that takes him into the high scorers race, no question about that. So 2 minutes are on for heat number 14. And in that shootout at the top, this race is going to see Heeps and Starke. Let's watch it from the start. Arran Butcher yellow, keep an eye on him. Surprise packet in that one for me because he made the gate in it. I thought it was Cam Heeps for a moment. Arran's got plenty of drive up into that first turn. He's really competitive, great line. Gets the movement around Jason Edwards, right line into 2nd place. Forget Richard Lawson, he checked out. He had that one in the bag from the tapes. But it was a great battle from Arran Butcher. Really made Jason Edwards of Swindon work hard to get up into that 2nd spot, which is what Swindon needed if they're going to push the Wolves all the way here. So heat 14. So yeah, it is Cameron Heeps for Wolves and it is Paul Starke for Swindon. So evenly paired them two, but they've got Chris Harris in the mix here and Jody SCOTT. So this is So Starke is on 3, yeah, so that is Jody SCOTT, there we go. So, Jody SCOTT off the inside in red for Oxford, red helmet colour. Chris Harris off gate 2 in white for Coventry. Paul Starke blue for Swindon off of gate number 3. And Cameron Heeps yellow for Wolves off of gate number 4. AW Mobs are our sponsors of Heat 14. And we are looking at Paul Starke and Cameron Heeps. Whoever finishes ahead, that is going to keep that battle at the top. Or a couple of wins for Oxford, they might well just be able to reel back into a 2nd place position. And they've just stretched away a little bit again with a win in that last one for Richard Lawson from Coventry Bees, Oxford. So they've almost cemented at least a 3rd place. But can they make up 6 points in 3 heats? It's a big ask on Swindon in 2nd. So we shall see. At least it's going to the wire. Jody SCOTT, Chris Harris, Paul Starke, Cameron Heeps. Heat number 14, tapes go up and away we go on 14, and Chris Harris has made the gate for Coventry. Keep an eye on Paul Starke and Cameron Heeps, who just runs out of room, and Jody SCOTT putting Paul Starke under pressure in 2nd place as well. So Chris Harris, he looks like he's going to take that win. He's already stretched out a lead. Paul Starke in 2nd, Jody SCOTT 3rd. But for Wolves, this isn't good news with Cameron Heeps currently at the back. But it's pretty close between those 3 for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. No denying who's going to win the heat as long as he stays upright. That is Chris Harris. He's stretching away, pulling away. He's got a massive lead out front. Paul Starke just can't get away from Jody SCOTT in 3rd place in the red helmet colour, Jody SCOTT. So with a lap to go, Chris Harris, Coventry, they look like they're going to take the win. Paul Starke currently in 2nd for Swindon with Jody SCOTT, Oxford 3rd. Cameron Heeps now, he's not going to get anything out of this one. So, are Swindon going to move ahead by a point? I think they're gonna. Chris Harris, white helmet colour, wins it for Coventry from Paul Starke, blue for Swindon. Red helmet colour, Jody SCOTT in third. Cam Heeps just couldn't get in amongst it in that one. And that sees Swindon take the lead for the first time tonight. Point takes Oxford onto 19. The 2 for Swindon takes them onto 26. The 3 takes Coventry up to 14. And nothing for Cam Heeps and Wolves. That leaves them on 25. So Swindon creep into the lead with a couple of heats to go. Chris Harris disappeared in that one. Made the gate, got his head down, disappeared. Only one winner. That was whether Jody SCOTT, who really did push Paul Starke for the full 4 laps. He managed to hold on. So Swindon take the lead, 26 to 25 with the Wolves. 19 for Oxford and 14 for Coventry. So in that shootout at the top, who are we going to see in red here? It's Richard Lawson. He comes out for the injured rider replacement ride for Luke Killeen. Too disappointing not to see Luke complete his rides tonight, but the most important thing is he's walked away from that crash in a terrible way, but in Richard Lawson, that's going to chuck the cat among the pigeons, so to speak, in terms of the battle out front at the top here. So it's just the start from the last heat. Chris Harris in white, he won the heat. Pretty even gave to Paul Starke there. I just thought here Cameron Heeps was going to get that run, but then he just runs out of room as Paul Starke moves across track. And that allows Jody SCOTT up, who was pressing there Paul Starke as they went into turn 3 for that second place. And then Cam just couldn't get up back into the points. So we're going to see Wayne Broadhurst. He's going to complete his rides, which is brilliant. Pushed off there by his son, Max, who had a great year with the Chargers. So a real development from Max Broadhurst this year at National League level. So here we go then. Cab Direct, they sponsor this Heat 15. 2 heats to go. 1 point in at the top. Simon Lambert in blue off the inside for Swindon. Richard Lawson, he's in red off of gate number 2 for Oxford. He will replace Luke Killeen, who is injured. Scott Nicholls, he's the Wolves representative in this one. Yellow helmet colour for gate number 3. And Wayne Broadhurst, he will be in the white helmet colour. Title winning B back in 1987. He's going to be in the white helmet colour from gate number 4. So looking at that shootout at the top. Lawson off the inside. Nicholls off of gate 3. But Richard Lawson chucked in like a grenade into this one. 2 wins and 2 second places for Richard Lawson. He definitely will be going into that top scorers race. Jason Edwards leads the way with Swindon at the moment with 8 points. But Dan Thompson and Simon Lambert both have a ride to come. So Star Marshall calls him into line. Big heat this one in terms of where this title is going to go. Will it be Ermolenko or Alun ROSSITER? 2 famous names lifting the trophy at the end of this night. Here we go, heat 15. Tapes go up and away we go, and Scotty Nicholls has made the start. Really close going into that first turn, but it looks like Scott Nicholls has got himself out front of Simon Lambert in second and Richard Lawson third, with Wayne Broadhurst out the back. Simon Lambert just shutting down the line there of Richard Lawson, who looks to come up the inside and put Simon Lambert under pressure. Can Simon Lambert hold on to that second place and take this to a last heat decider? Or is Richard Lawson going to get up to spoil the party? Oh, it's going to be a big 2 laps for Simon Lambert for the Robins. Can he hold on? It means we will go into the last race level if he can hold on, because out front Scott Nicholls has got this one in the bag. This is going to take them to 28. If Simon Lambert can hold on to second place, this will keep Swindon on 28, and it will be a shootout in that last race. Half a lap to go. Wayne Broadhurst has given up the ghost at the back as we come into the last 2 turns. It's going to be a win for Scott Nicholls, and it's going to be a second place for Simon Lambert. So we're going to have a last heat decider. What a great way to end this meeting. Richard Lawson put Simon Lambert under all manner of pressure for the full 4 laps, and he's done well to hold him off, to be honest. Scott Nicholls disappeared. Sorry, Scott. I could have gave you some more plaudits. You were so far ahead. There was a battle behind you. So those 3 points takes Wolves on to 28. Those 2 points takes Swindon on to 28. 1 point for Lawson, that takes them on to 20. The Cheetahs, they've secured 3rd place. And unfortunately for the Cov, Wayne Broadhurst, couldn't get amongst the points. Leaves them on 14. Excuse me for snivelling, I'm quite cold now. But I tell you, we've got a last heat decider. And it's a shootout between Leon Flint and Dan Thompson. Oh, what a way to end. Either of them could win it. 2 fabulous young British riders. Both have made, you can see him smiling and chatting there on track. That's good to see. Here we go. It's a really tight first turn. Keep an eye on the inside 3. Simon Lambert blue, Richard Lawson red, and Scott Nicholls who made the drop. But look at how close this is going in there. And I thought we were going to get some unwanted action, but thankfully they all stayed upright and stayed apart. And what the heat result has done is it's given us a last race shootout, which is brilliant. It's what we wanted to see. Shame Oxford just couldn't keep. Maybe if Luke Killeen hadn't got injured early on, they'd possibly be in that mix as well. So here we go, Heat 16, last race of the team event this evening, and it's a straight shootout for the title. Ashton VALE, he's in this one in white for Coventry. Gate number 1, Dan Thompson, can he bring it home for Swindon? Blue helmet colour off for gate number 2. Senna SUMMERS getting his 4th ride. He's in the red helmet colour off gate 3 for Oxford. Or will it be Leon Flint, unbeaten so far? Yellow helmet colour off the outside for the Wolves. It's yellow or blue. It's going to be the 2 winners. Heat 16 sponsored by Bet Goodwin. Sponsors of the stadium, the club, and this race. So it's a big one. Who's your money on? To be honest, Leon Flint's looked absolutely brilliant. Dan Thompson, a 3rd place first time out, and then a win and a 2nd. For his 6 points, which way will it go? Now that Oxford can't win, I would imagine the Oxford fans underneath me are cheering for Leon Flint, because you've got to have a bit of rivalry, and they won't want to see Swindon turn up and take this title. This 14 tournament Bet Goodwin Championship. But in Dan Thompson, they've got a rival more than capable of beating Leon Flint. Let's see what this heat brings. Tapes go up and away we go. Oh, disaster for the Robins. Dan Thompson hasn't got off the line. Leon Flint has. He seemed to spin up there from the start. And he's in the lead. Head down and away he goes for Leon Flint. You build it up, and then the bike stops on the line. Leon Flint out front for Wolves. They've looked good all night, and Leon's looked absolutely fantastic. They look like they're going to take this crown now, unless Leon's bike stops as well, and then we'll have an unexpected runoff. Currently, 2nd place is Ashton VALE for Coventry. Senna SUMMERS 3rd at the moment for Oxford. Again, pretty stretched out now this one. The shootout was going to be between Dan and Leon, but there was a pop at the start. And Dan didn't get off the start line. It's left Leon Flint unchallenged. It's left the Wolves unchallenged, and Leon Flint is going to enjoy the last 2 laps of his season. Actually, he's going to be in the Riders' runoff as well, isn't he? The race-off. But he's won it, and the Wolverhampton Wolves have won it. Great to see the Wolves back on track, and they take the win here with Leon Flint unbeaten. Their 31 points gives them the crown from Swindon on 28. 21 for Oxford and 16 for the Bees. So well done to the Wolverhampton Wolves and Leon Flint. Sounded like an expensive one there. Ashton VALE on his back wheel, love to see it. Senna SUMMERS and Leon Flint. They come round to take the applause. Fantastic stuff from Leon Flint, he's been brilliant tonight. But you build the heat up, you give it the big one, you raise your volume, and then Dan Thompson don't get off the start line. Right, never mind. For the event, more than anything, of course, it would have been nice for Swindon to win, as it would have been Oxford, Coventry or Wolverhampton. So well done to the Wolves. Just brilliant to see all these teams back on track. Really, really good. Here we go. There's our runners and riders, and we can see who's in that race off now. It'll be Richard Lawson for Oxford. It's going to be Jason Edwards for Swindon. It's going to be Chris Harris and Leon Flint, so a great race. But let's go through. Oxford Cheetahs, Richard Lawson 11 points, Jody SCOTT 5, Luke Killeen 3, Senna SUMMERS 2. They contributed to the 21 of the Cheetahs. The Robins in second place with 28, Dan Thompson 6, Simon Lambert 7, Jason Edwards 8 and Paul Starke 7. Really solid from the Robins. Coventry, Bomber the out-and-out number 1, Joe Thompson 4, Wayne Broadhurst battled away but couldn't get in amongst the points, and Ashton VALE there, got a couple of points on the board in that last race. Well done to him. That was Coventry's 16, but the winners, deserved winners, Leon Flint shining there with 12-point maximum, Scott Nicholls with 8, Cameron Heeps with 7, and Arran Butcher, who for me is the difference, because all the riders that scored big you expect, but when a rider like Arran Butcher can get points in every one of his rides, 4 third places, they've won the meeting by 3 points, his 4, that's what's made the difference. So congratulations to Sam Ermolenko, Scotty Nicholls, Leon Flint, Cameron Heeps, Arran Butcher. Your winners for this evening. There's your final graphic. Wolves 31, Swindon 28, Oxford 21, Bees 16. And we go into a fabulous last race, which is going to see Richard Lawson, Jason Edwards, Chris Harris, and Leon Flint. And I'm not a very good betting man, but my money would be on Leon Flint. No question there. Chris Harris has come to the party in his last couple of rides though, a couple of race wins to finish off his evening if he makes the start. He gets hit. I don't know how they do the gates here. My programme doesn't give me gates, so whether they're going to decide it, I don't know. Count back, they're not going to spend too much time on that. Maybe they got one of those old boxes that had the 4 coloured balls in. They used to shake and the balls used to drop into the holes. That'd be old tool, retro. Maybe they got that going on. Maybe it'd be paper, rock, scissors. Colours out of a hat, who knows? I can only guess, and you have to listen to me guessing. But thank you for listening to me. Brilliant that you've had us on the stream this evening. Great that you've been supporting us. I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed bringing you the whole season here at Oxford. Very grateful for Oxford to be able to give me the opportunity to do the stream. I've really enjoyed it. A collection of people doing the work with us this season. We had Laura, Eloise, Paul, Rob, Andy, myself. Pete's been on the comms a couple of times as well. Dave Rowe, he's done the comms for us as well. We've had a couple of guests. We almost had Dan Gilks on camera one week. That never happened, but we almost did. So from all of us, it's been a pleasure. We thank you very much for enjoying it. We do still have one race to go. We're just deciding the gate positions for the high scorers shootout. I don't know what they win. I don't know what they win for this. No one's told me that either. But they're going to win something, otherwise they wouldn't be coming to tapes. I love that. So Richard and Seneca, he's just reading out the scorers, and they just got to the Swindon Robins, and there was a collection of boos from underneath the comms box. That's what you expect when you come to Oxford. So we anticipate this is definitely the right 4 riders. That's who we know is going to be out in this one. And we're thinking, we've had word that they are the gate stats. So when the boys roll around into position, we'll obviously be able to confirm that. But it looks like it'll be Richard Lawson off the inside, Jason Edwards off a 2, Chris Harris off a 3, and Leon Flint off a 4. But we will confirm that when the boys come round to tapes. But those 4 have been the standout 4 for sure. Swindon will be consistent in their team from top to bottom, as have Wolves really. But Bomber for Coventry and Richard for Oxford Lawson. They've been standout for those 2 sides. But Speedway's the winner, bringing these 4 teams back together on track. I'm sure there's people watching at home that are connected to these clubs that have enjoyed just seeing their race jacket on track. It wasn't necessarily about the riders that were representing them. Obviously, if you run a meeting like this at the start of the season, you might get more riders that want to ride, that have got connections to the club, but ultimately that doesn't matter. What it's about is just getting these teams on track. Brilliant to see Swindon Wolves and Coventry back. We can only hope that we see them in a more fixed capacity as the season develops. Right, so there we go. We're just looking on screen now, and Chris Harris has got the blue helmet colour on, so we've lost the team helmet colours for this race off. So I would anticipate that Bomber's going to be off of gate 2. See Jason Edwards there for Swindon in white. So he's potentially going to be off of gate 3. Richard Lawson coming out in yellow. So Richard will be off of gate 4. So that will leave Leon Flint in the red helmet colour off the inside, representing himself now, but the Wolves as well. So I anticipate that's how we're going to see it. Leon Flint off the inside, Chris Harris off of gate 2, Jason Edwards off of 3, and Richard Lawson off of 4. Four great riders, 4 boys that have had brilliant seasons. Richard Lawson's won a couple of things with Paul. Jason Edwards picked up a win with Redcar in the BSN series. Bomber came very close with Glasgow, as did Leon Flint. And anybody that's enjoyed the streams that BSN have done up from Glasgow, some of those rides from Chris Harris, it just takes your breath away what Chris can do on a bike sometimes. So for the last time on Oxford TV this season, the referee has the 2 minutes on. The start marshal's going to bring him into line. From everybody connected with Oxford Speedway, Oxford TV, thank you so much for joining us this year. And as we head into the last race, it is, as we said a moment ago, Leon Flint off the inside in red, representing himself and Wolves. Off gate 2, Chris Harris for Coventry, blue helmet colour. Gate number 2, Jason Edwards, white helmet colour, gate number 3 for Swindon. And Richard Lawson there on the outside in yellow, representing the Oxford Cheetahs. 4 very recognisable riders. But yes, a massive thank you from us. We've really enjoyed bringing you the stream. Hope to see you again next season. Hopefully Oxford will last me back. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure bringing you the Speedway. Congratulations to all the riders that have won this year, the teams that have won. Giving us something to talk about, shout about and enjoy. And again, I've taken my hat off a few times this evening, but I really do take my hat off to every rider that goes out on track to give us entertainment. Any rider that's finished the season injured, we wish them well over the winter. Any rider that's riding down under, a few of the boys are heading down Australia, good luck to them. But for one final time, last race of the season, here at Oxford, Richard Lawson, Jason Edwards, Chris Harris, Leon Flint. That's your lineup. Here we go. Start marshal walks away, takes up for the last time. Jason Edwards has made a belter off a 3 and got himself over the top of Chris Harris. Will Chris get a run up the inside? No, Jason Edwards holds it. Chris goes in hot there, close to the back wheel. Keep an eye on Chris Harris, looking up the inside. Jason Edwards still keeps that run around the outside. And Leon Flint, who hasn't been touched. Chris Harris! What a line that is. Fantastic speedway from Chris. Put his back wheel where not many have tonight, to be honest. And got the run around. Jason Edwards into first place. Leon Flint, who hasn't been touched this evening, is in 3rd place. And Richard Lawson finds himself at the back. With a lap to go, there is nothing anybody can do about Chris Harris. What a move. Just what I was saying pre-race. He does things that others don't seem to be able to do at times. That was a wonderful move, really close around the outside of Jason Edwards, who really didn't expect that to happen. So as he comes around to take the checkered flag, Chris Harris takes the win in the top scorers race at the Rider of the Night from Jason Edwards of Swindon, Leon Flint of Wolves, and Richard Lawson of Oxford. But Chris Harris, whew, what a move. You should just expect it. I don't know why I'm surprised. You should expect that from Chris Harris. What a move. But fair play to those 4 boys. Great race to finish. Excellent for Chris. Last race of the season, giving us a fantastic overtake. He ain't going to pull no wheelie though, I'll tell you that now. But he gets some nice applause from underneath us, as does Richard Lawson there in 2nd. As Chris has blown a kiss to his family, who I saw in the bar earlier on. Jason Edwards with 3rd. 2nd, and Leon Flint with 3rd. Well done to those 4 boys. Great race to end the season. Chris Harris giving us what Chris Harris does. It gives me something to go out with a bang on. Thanks, Chris. Unlucky Jason Edwards there in 2nd place. So the Wolves take the win. I'm pretty sure we're going to see Leon Flint come around on a bit of back wheel. The rest of the Wolves are there outside the pit gate. Here we go. Leon Flint on the back wheel. Way to end your season. And the Wolves take the victory. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to Chris Harris of Coventry on the night, who takes the Rider of the Night award. So, again, from everybody here, Rob on camera tonight, myself presenting tonight. It's just the three of us tonight and Andy producing, but from everyone else that's done the stream this season, a big thank you for supporting the stream, watching us here on Oxford TV. Have a terrific winter. Let's hope we see Swindon, Wolverhampton and Coventry back on track really soon. We'll see you next season, that's for sure. Enjoy your winter. Have a great Christmas from all of us here at Oxford TV and Oxford Speedway. Thank you for watching. Good night.